What's his main page look like? Does it?
I just have a picture of him.
Okay.
Put Senator Ted Cruz. Go into my feed, it'll be right there.
Oh, you reposted it?
I posted
Oh, okay. It is September 11th of 2014. 9/11/2014. Anno Domini. I'm James Dilley. And about an hour ago, Senator Ted Cruz posted on his Facebook page that happens to have 800,000 plus likes. As a matter of fact, boom. Now it has one more like than it did just seconds ago. Here's the post. Tonight in Washington should have been a night of unity as we came together for the inaugural event for a group that calls itself In Defense of Christians. Instead, it unfortunately deteriorated into a shameful display of bigotry and hatred. When I spoke in strong support of Israel and the Jewish people who are being persecuted and murdered by the same vicious terrorists who are also slaughtering Christians, many Christians in the audience applauded. But sadly, a vocal and angry minority of attendees at the conference tried to shout down my expression of solidarity with Israel. They cannot shout down the truth, and we should not shy away from expressing the truth, even in the face of, especially in the face of, ignorance and bigotry. I told the attendees that those who hate Israel also hate America, that those who hate Jews also hate Christians, and that anyone who hates Israel and the Jewish people is not following the teachings of Christ. These statements were met with angry boos. I went on to tell the crowd that Christians in the Middle East have no better friend than Israel, that Christians can practice their faith free of persecution in Israel, and that ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Hamas, and Hezbollah, along with their state sponsors in Syria and Iran, are all part of the same cancer, murdering Christians and Jews alike. Hate is hate, and murder is murder. I came to this event tonight to help shine a light on the tragic persecution and slaughter of Christians by ISIS and Islamic radicals throughout the Middle East. American leaders have been far too silent as to this horrific evil. But bigotry and hatred have no place in this discussion. Anti-Semitism is a corrosive evil, and it reared its ugly head tonight. After just a few minutes, I had no choice. I told them that if you will not stand with Israel, if you will not stand with the Jews, then I will not stand with you. And then I walked off the stage. I'm going to hammer that one with a like. And now here's a video clip that is circulating online of the moment when Ted Cruz makes his statement and walks off.
Respect for dialogue.
I will say this, I am saddened to see that some here, not everyone, but some here, most of us, are so consumed with hate that you cannot address your brother. I will say this.
You speak for yourself.
If you will not stand with Israel and the Jews,
No.
then I will not stand with you. Thank you, and God bless you.
Whether or not you personally agree with Ted Cruz and his stance, he is a man of integrity and he believes in what he's standing for. And in a world full of mamby-pamby politicians, I will crush the like button for this man and this post. Now the IDC has responded. You should be made aware the group In Defense of Christians. There will be no screen capture for this portion of the video because the IDC site has gone down due to extreme traffic. The name In Defense of Christians was inspired by an open letter from human rights activist Armin Wegner to Adolf Hitler in 1933 entitled In Defense of the Jews. In this letter, Wegner publicly condemned Hitler and the Nazis. And he said, "I have both the right and the duty to appeal to you, for my heart is seething with indignation, and I was not endowed with the gift of speech merely to make myself an accomplice by remaining silent. The Jews have survived captivity in Babylon, slavery in Egypt, the Inquisition in Spain, the oppression of the Crusaders, and 1600 pogroms in Russia. The resilience that has enabled this people to survive to the present day will also enable them to overcome this threat. But the opprobrium and ignominy which now adhere to Germany as a result of this will not be forgotten for a long time. Though all prefer today to stand mute, I for one can no longer." So here's a man who spoke out in defense of Jews. And so that's the beginnings of In Defense of Christians. And if you understand what's going on in the Middle East, Ted Cruz was supporting awareness and supporting In Defense of Christians by being a speaker at their event. Statement of the IDC president following disruption at IDC Gala dinner. In Defense of Christians, President Tawfiq Baklini issued the following statement in response to a disruption at the inaugural summit Gala dinner. As Cardinal Rai so eloquently put it to the attendees of the In Defense of Christians inaugural summit Gala dinner, at every wedding, there are a few wedding crashers. In this case, a few politically motivated opportunists chose to divide a room that for more than 48 hours sought unity in opposing the shared threat of genocide, faced not only by our Christian brothers and sisters, but our Jewish brothers and sisters, and people of all other faiths, and all people of goodwill. Tonight's injection of politics, when the focus should have been on unity and faith, momentarily played into the hands of a few who do not adhere to IDC's principles. They were made no longer welcome. Okay, what I gather from that is that those who were booing Senator Ted Cruz were the politically motivated that were there as wedding crashers and divided the room. Because let's face it, the content of what those who would come to any event to speak, the content that they prepare to speak about, has to do with the group that they are addressing. Okay, that makes sense. That's just logic. So to prepare a content specifically for a group, and then to have people within that group boo them for the content that the group claims to stand for, it's really an injustice that these people were able to infiltrate. You know, I would defend the right of people to gather and to speak their mind in the context of what the Constitution provides. And if you understand the freedom of speech, it's not the freedom to say whatever you want to. It's the freedom to not be hindered by a government to say the things that you believe. So, having said that, let's continue. When we set out to form in defense of Christians, many in the foreign policy and faith-based communities said such an effort was impossible, that it would be too difficult to bring such a diverse group of Christian sects, religious and human rights organizations together to draw attention not only to the plight of the deteriorating situation facing our Christians, brothers and sisters, but also to the plight of all people of faith in the Middle East who are suffering. For more than 48 hours, our initial IDC conference was successfully bridging divides of faith, language, geography, and politics. It has not been easy and not without challenges. Tonight's events make clearer than ever that the in defense of Christians is desperately needed in a world that remains divided to the point where even the most fundamental value of life and human dignity are cast aside. We remain undaunted and focused on achieving our goals. Okay, so I'm going to highlight again that the statement where the IDC president says, tonight's injection of politics when the focus should have been on unity and faith momentarily played into the hands of a few who did not adhere to IDC's principles. They were made no longer welcome. So I believe he's addressing those who were the wedding crashers. Now I know where I stand. There is a principle where those who bless Israel will be blessed. Now that does not mean that you would support any unrighteousness or just any policy, but what it does mean is that when other nations all rise up against Israel, such as Islamic states and Islamic groups do on a regular basis, it is better to be found to be a friend of Israel than an enemy. There are spiritual laws at work. And there are some things that are like a plumb line. You just can't lean them left or right. The weight at the bottom of that plumb line is gonna plumb it every time. So that's what the hoopla is. That's what happened recently. Okay, so that's it. In the comments, where do you stand on Middle Eastern issues? For some, that's on the other side of the planet, and they don't give it much time. And for others, it's very important. I'd like to know what you think. Leave a comment under the video. Be sure and smash the thumbs up and subscribe.